Maya is actually one of the quality, one of the dimension of the Prakriti, the way the universe is getting unfolded, and why it actually happens. Uh, and you deal more and more, you'll find that Maya, of course, is very difficult to define what exactly is Maya. But we all say that सब Maya है, सब कुछ Maya है, and we get entangled, we get tied up, and we it becomes very difficult to come out of that Maya. बोले माया का एक जाल है, माया इज अ जाल, एंड माया का जाल में तो फंसना ही है, जन्म लिया तो फंसना ही है. So sometimes it happens that it is difficult to define what is Maya, but definitely Maya is a statement of fact. It is a statement of fact because you're all caught up. You're all caught up in the entire in a mesh of something which you are actually calling it as a Maya. Now, if you see, Maya is a Sanskrit word, Maya. Now, if you actually translate that into English, a couple of words that comes like Maya as a matrices, Maya as matrix, Maya as a measure, what it measures up to be. Maya is a matter, okay, entanglement. Maya is samsara, एक samsara, and it is samsara vichitra. Samsara is not very, very simplistic, it is very complex, it is vichitra samsara. Maya is something that we are always trying to get rid of, but we also love it, we get enmeshed in that, and we all say that, does it matter? So how it matters? We're all part of the matter. Matters really matters. What matters is matters. So we get into, and we get entangled into, and more we are into, we get just like a slippery mud where we are trying to get entangled, and we are trying to get into and into. So Maya is a power, it is a Shakti, and it is a magic. So if you see the M of Maya, M of matter, M of matrices, M of matrix, M of measure, and M of how does it matter, like that. So we keep on contemplating that, yes, this is Maya, and it is a statement of fact. सब कुछ माया है, माया का जाल में फंस नहीं है, तो हम लोग फंस गए. And but there are people who are quite intelligent, and they are using their mind as a sharp knife, as a sharp sword, to cut this jungle of Maya and come out and get free. The entire knowledge of Sanatana Dharma, especially the Upanishads, you'll find that is the science of getting liberated, the science of freedom. And freedom is one of the qualities that every human being is looking for. Nobody wants to get into a jail, and we may not be into a jail, but sometimes we are trapped in our own jail, and that is something called as a cognitive jail. Cognition is a process of knowing something, and psychology as a subject deals a lot with this cognitive jail. You heard of Sigmund Freud. Sigmund Freud was one of the father of psychoanalysis, and he talks a lot about defense mechanism. One of them is reaction formation. He talks about denial. He talks about displacement. He talks about rationalization. He talks about repression. Now, these are all various psychological strategies to put the blame on somebody, or on something, or on some object, or on some situation, and we are trying to really get out of it. But ultimately, these are all kind of aspects of kind of a bandhan. So Maya is also kind of a bandhan. Maya is a kind of an enmeshment where we are already into it, and we are all trying to come out of it, because at the end of the day, we find that we are lacking solace. So probably we may have a lot of material gain, but probably we don't have the mental peace. So that actually makes us to really understand what exactly is Maya, what are the types of Maya, or what are the categories of Maya. Now, Maya is one of the, if you actually talk about the entire two aspects that Sanatana Dharma deals a lot, is Brahman, which is the supreme reality, and the other side is the Maya. So we can say they are actually in this, they are two sides of the coin actually. So one part is Maya, which is trying to make something which is infinite into finite. And the question comes is how is something which is infinite becomes finite? Because and we are unable to see the supreme reality. We are unable to see the Brahman actually because we are so caught up into the finite. And these finite things are all vastu, and over vastu we put a lot of bhav. So a vastu pradhan, a bhava pradhan, and the more is the bhava pradhan, the more we are getting attracted and appealed, and that actually is a glue. And the more glue we have, the more is the power of the Maya to wield its power. So Maya is the power of the Brahman, and Brahman is self-effulgent. It is self-luminous, but it doesn't allow its real picture and its appearance to in a normally. So I can say, I mean, after all kind of contemplation, I can see that Brahman is a hard, tough taskmaster, because it can be only revealed to those people, those who have with their intellect and their practices and their austerities has come out of the Maya and actually are able to see it. Now, before we get into that, I mean, that is some of the practical aspect that how knowledge of Maya can help us to understand and have a better life. Now, there are two powers of Maya, and they are very simple, but they are very profound, because if you know this, I think a lot of knowledge actually dawns upon us. One is Maya. One of the power of Maya is avarana. Avarana means it is concealment. कुछ चीज को देखने नहीं देते, वो ढाक के रख देते. Okay, and it makes us as if it is something else. So it doesn't allow us to see something which is the reality. And the most quoted example in the Vedanta is the rope and the snake. So sometimes we feel that it is a rope, but because of less light and because of the shape that it has taken, we feel that, or rather we think that it is a snake, but actually it is not a snake, it is a rope. So and sometimes it happens that it is in our mind. Our mind is playing the trick. But once you put on the light, you find that no, it is not a snake, it is actually a rope. So, and in reality, what happens is many a times we are not seeing the reality, because that reality is being covered by something else, and that particular something is a superimposition. Superimposition is it's being superimposed. It is being imposed upon. So something is there and we cannot see it. And once we clear the layer of the dust, then we can see the reality. And take the example of, there is a aquarium, and in the aquarium there's a lot of dirt, and but probably in the bottom of the aquarium there may be something, and we cannot see it. But we cannot see it because it is dirty. But once we remove the dirt, we can actually see it. So transparency is lacking. Now this is something that we can understand in terms of rope or a snake or an aquarium, or maybe any object which is dirty, you remove, you can see it. But life is not so simple. Life is not so simple as a rope and a snake or an aquarium or an object which is dirty. Life is much more complex, and we have a lot of layers of our thinking, and those thinking are coming of our biases, our cognitive biases, and our preconceived notions, and our old experiences, our error in our thinking, our fallacy, our falsity, our mistaken identity, and they cannot be removed. So they are something like a delusion. So psychology talks about illusion, it talks about delusion, and it talks about hallucination. Okay, hallucination is something where we have an understanding that something is happening, but actually it is not there. Okay, illusion is something which is to do with your senses. It's a trick that the mind plays. Okay, like mirage is an illusion, and a delusion is where somebody is having a fixated belief or a preconceived notion, and it becomes very difficult for the person to remove that preconceived notion and understand that yes, that is the reality. So our thinking, avarana shakti is very, very powerful, and that is not allowing us to see the reality as it is. Avarana. The question is, what can make us to remove the coverage, the shroud that is actually lying upon so thick? So one of the ways is being flexible. Okay, but flexibility is a very, very simplistic word, but it is not so simplistic, because our dealings and our interpersonal relationships are so strong that we are unable to break down those barriers, and we are unable to take it. The more we are exposed, the more we are flexible, the more we are open, the more we are receptive, and the more we are in touch with a certain kind of divine love, the more those avarana power actually goes out. And this avarana is we are getting maybe it is not there during the birth, because as a child they are very innocent. They just play with others. But what happens once the child grows at the age of 6, 7, ye mera hai, ye tera hai, and they fights and ego comes in, and somehow the layers actually comes in, and suddenly we have a lot of ego that develops, and that doesn't allow us, and then we start developing a lot of this avarana. Definitely our proper education, right education, really helps us to really remove this avarana. Second one is called vikshep. Vikshep is a mental projection. This is also there in Sigmund Freud's defense mechanism, projection. Now, human mind is a double-edged sword actually. We can do a lot of imagination. It was Einstein who said that imagination is more important than knowledge. And this vikshep is something that we are projecting, that something is not there, but we project, and our projections are so strong that we find that is a reality. So Maya is also, to a large extent, is a kind of a projection that as a hai, but actually the reality is not like this. So projection is a kind of a mental projection, but in reality it is not there. So we project. Now, if you actually see from the Sanatana Dharma's concept, because as I say, the objective of Sanatana Dharma is to make us liberated and to really be one with God. And सारी जो चीज़ है अपना इर्द गिर्द अपना सामने जो है, they all are actually a nama and the rupa. So it is Desha, Kala, Nimitta, Karana. So if you talk about Aristotle's 4 causes, so there is a material cause, there is an efficient cause, there is a formal cause, and then there is a final cause. Okay, now if you really understand this from a Vedantic perspective, and even Sankhya Yoga talks about the same thing in a different language. Purusha and the Prakriti. Prakriti is basically what actually we see around, and Purusha is the absolute reality which you cannot see. But Prakriti is nothing without the Purusha. Okay, and Purusha it cannot actually show its power without the Prakriti. So both requires both of them. So material cause is basically if you take a table or if you take a laptop, it is because of the iron or certain transistors and certain instruments that made the possible the laptop or wood has made possible the chair to come. Okay, so that is the material cause. Efficient cause is what has made that particular thing to manifest. Okay, final cause is the object itself. Formal cause is the very structure, the way it is. And what actually we see in and around us is in fact is all about matter that is coming, and we get entangled, and we tend to get totally involved into it. But there is something beyond, and what is that beyond doesn't allow us to see, because we are too much into the matter, we are too much into nama and the rupa. So our life is more into the nama and the rupa, as if in a given time and space, absolute is something that we are not interested, and we are all entangled with the nama and the rupa, and that shows that yes, this is something that it is all actually. So avarana and the vikshepa, so something we are unable to see the supreme reality, and we get so much enmeshed with our objects and vastu, okay, that it doesn't allow us to understand that what exactly is the reality which you call the supreme, and that is already being totally hidden by the vastu that is in front of us. And we have a relationship with the vastu, and our relationship with the vastu is so strong and so glued that we are unable to break that glue and really understand what actually is the reality. And it becomes very difficult because it requires a strong intellect and a dispassion and a vairagya bhav to understand the supreme reality. Without the vairagya bhav and without the real approach and attitude to understand the supreme reality, we cannot really break the Maya. Because once you are into the Maya, it becomes very difficult to break the Maya. One way to break the Maya is your Vairagava. Okay, so and of course the Vikshep is basically our mental projections, and most of our mental projections are sometimes wrong actually. They are all into a fallacy. So it is, so Sanatana Dharma does a great job in trying to really correct our thinking process, because the thinking that we are thinking about thinking is not thinking that we should be thinking, because our thinkings are flawed actually. And our Upanishads are actually a manual to correct our thinking process and understand exactly what is the reality. And once you understand reality, that is something which is as the freedom that we get from our daily stresses and daily strain actually. Now, Vedanta Sara is a very, very fundamental text to understand the concept of reality. And there it states five characteristics of Maya. So first is, it cannot be explained by it is or it is not. Now what is Maya? Maya cannot be explained by it is or it is not. So that itself is very, very, very curious. So we cannot pinpoint and say that this is Maya or this is not Maya, because Maya is just like a magic and it plays a trick with us. So we cannot say that this is it. And it doesn't give any hypothesis. It is non-conclusive, but definitely it plays a very, very strong role. So we cannot say that it is it or it is not. So neither it is not, neither it is, but it is something that governs our life, and it has a mysterious and it has a very strong power in our life. And it is composed. Second is, it is composed of three gunas. What are these three gunas? Three gunas that is there in the Sankhya Yoga. We talk about the sattva, rajasa, and the tamasa. Now, tamasa is basically which is all to do with your laziness, and rajasa is to do with your passion and energy, and sattvic is purity, and it is absolute calmness and purity. Now, you will find that with this sattvic, there's always the interplay between the sattvic, rajasic, and the tamasic, and all this plays a very, very strong role in the way things are taking place. And there's always this interplay. This interplay is like, one is sometimes we are into a tamoguna, sometimes we are into the rajoguna, and sometimes we are into sattvic guna. And all these three interplays makes us to move up and down. Sometimes there's an elation and then there's a depression actually. Like if you are too tamasic, we tend to be lazy. Okay, and we are unable to come out. But once we realize, nahi, apne ko kaam karna hai, apne ko nikalna hai yahan se, then we are rajasic, we are too much energetic. But too much of energy is also bad, because it can make us get into a strain. And then, of course, sattvic is the purity state. So we're all actually into one of the state, either into a sattvic, and they govern our life. Either we are tamasic or rajasic or sattvic. And even into a sattvic state, we don't actually remain in that particular state. So can we stay at the state of sthiti prajna, that is stable mind. Prajna is the wisdom. Can we remain in that? So that's a play of sattvic, rajasic, and the tamasic is also kind of it's three guna we're talking about. Third, it is opposed to knowledge, because Maya is something which destroys knowledge. Probably we learn a lot of things, we get educated, we have a lot of exposure. And but when something which is tempting, something which comes in front of us, something which we want to experiment, and then of course everything just falls, because we don't have a strong will. So Maya is something like Ramakrishna Paramahamsa used to give a fantastic parable that if you go to some of the villages, which is and in the villages you'll find some kind of some water. I mean, they are actually like a pond. So that is called pukur. Okay, so there you'll find that there are water hyacinth or hyacinth. Okay, they are very small. Okay, and if you go inside the water and you want to take a bath, and of course nowadays people even cannot imagine taking a bath in the pond, but of course in the villages people are still taking. And sometimes those they generally multiply very fast, water hyacinth. You remove them, okay, and again they come dancing in the water. Okay, so you remove them again, they come dancing. So what happens? You have knowledge, but you get tempted to something. Okay, you get tempted, and again you bring your knowledge, but again the Maya comes and it removes your knowledge. So Maya is something that destroys your knowledge. So one side you're trying to gain knowledge, and another side there is something that destroys your knowledge. digital knowledge. No? This is something which is quite appealing. No? I mean, you are getting knowledge, but ऐसा बोलते एक बार knowledge आ गया तो knowledge नहीं जाएगा, but knowledge जा सकता है. We are not this knowledge is a very different. It is not a knowledge, empirical knowledge, but it is a knowledge about the reality. So the knowledge comes, but the knowledge also gets destroyed. चलो नहीं होगा, चलो एक बार करके देखते. So a temptation actually takes over. So it is opposed. So it is Maya is something that opposes knowledge, that actually that kills the knowledge. And the way to get out of the Maya is to have a strong conviction, not confidence, not opinion. Many of us have an opinion and a confidence, but conviction is something that is required to hold on to. That is also called titiksha, forbearance, able to hold on to something for a very, very long time. So Maya is always playing its role. It is like Descartes talked about, René Descartes, the first modern philosopher. He says that it's a demon, and the demon is not allowing somebody to think. Even Lord Buddha was trying to concentrate, but Mara was there. Mara was trying to really always create a lot of problem with Buddha, and Buddha had to really take a firm decision. Hey, I am going to get enlightenment, but Mara is always trying to come. So either in case of René Descartes, it is demon, or Buddha, it is actually a Mara. So it is the demon or the matrix or the Mara. They are actually like the Maya. So Maya is something that doesn't allow us to get the enlightenment. It doesn't allow us to get the goal, because they always come in between. And sometimes they can come in the form of a person also. So Maya can come in the form of a person. You are stern, you are firm, but something may come and you become emotional. And emotions and Maya also are connected. So Maya is something which is opposed to knowledge. Now Maya is also not absence of something, rather it is the presence of something positive. It is not absence. Maya ऐसा नहीं है, कुछ भी नहीं है, but it is the presence of something actually, and that something doesn't allow us to see the reality. So we have seen it is actually to do with avarana, okay, and the projection, and these are the final attributes of characteristics of Maya. Then we get into the last one, that is the fifth one. Fifth one is Maya is yat kinship. It is very, very mysterious. Kaise Maya will enter in your life, we don't know. And Swami Vivekananda said that the king dies about death, okay, and about Maya he was talking about. The king dies, the pauper dies, the saint dies, the sinner dies, the learned dies, the ignorant dies. Still we cling to life. And that is Maya. So Maya is a statement of fact. It's a statement of facts of Maya actually. And so we get entangled, but what actually we see in our life, that is also reality. You cannot deny that. Even Shankaracharya never denied the reality. Empirical reality, व्यवहारिक सत्य जो है वो सही है, वो है actually, समझे, उसको हम लोग deny नहीं कर सकते. The question is when we get entangled to the vastu and the bhav, and we feel that ये और चाहिए, then it become a problem. अब देखेंगे, one of the way that Jainism was trying to really put this particular matter and hammer in our brain is aparigraha, बोलते हैं इसको, aparigraha. Generally, one of the way to enjoy life is to develop a tremendous dispassion to the way life is happening, and we remain very objective that yes, I am the reality called Brahman, and I'm going to face life as it comes to me, and I'm going to give my best. This is the practical aspect of Vedanta. Generally, what happens, we get entangled. Somebody is getting rich, somebody is getting promoted, somebody is having more money, somebody is better, somebody looks good actually, somebody is much more shiny, and I am not like that. So these are all Maya. The question is, his life is his life, my life is my life. Can I take my life? We're all piece of existence of our larger existence, and the more we have this kind of thoughts, we have a problem. Okay, so let's understand Maya more from a two aspect. One is these. There are two aspects of Maya further. One is called Vidyamaya, another is Avidyamaya. Now you may question: is Maya always bad? Okay, is Maya all bad? I'll come to that. Maya can be also good also, but there is an attribute. There's a different attribute for a good Maya. What is that? That we'll speak separately. But let us understand these two concepts of Maya. That is called Vidyamaya and Avidyamaya. Now, Avidyamaya is a Maya which negates the reality, the real reality, the supreme reality, and they are very thick in terms of making us to hold for something and doesn't get liberated, and they are negativities, and they are very thick and they are very thick glue, and they're very powerful glue. And what are they? They are the Kama, Krodha, Lobha, Moha, Mada, and Matsraya. Kama is the lust, Krodha is the anger, Lobha is the greed, Moha is the delusion. Okay, many of us have a delusion, and you break your rate, but you cannot remove people's delusion. But तेरे को मैं इतना बोल रहा हूँ, तेरे को समझ में नहीं आ रहा है क्या? तेरे को मैं इतना बोल रहा हूँ, तेरे को समझ में नहीं आ रहा है क्या? They are deluded, and that is the Maya, because they are so stubborn, and they are so rigid, they are so fixated, and you feel that, what the heck is happening? I am trying so much, and उसका भले के लिए बोल रहा हूँ. You sacrifice, but वो जाता नहीं है actually. That is thickening. Kama, Krodha, Lobha, Moha, Mada is a pride. Taking a pride, okay, it's a bad pride. Pride can also be good, and the Matsara is a jealousy. Now, these are all 6 dangerous emotions that can kill somebody's life. This is a negative, okay. It is actually Avidyamaya. Try to understand. And the more we have this, the more we cling to life, and the more we do satsang, okay, the more you get loosened about this 6 demons in our life. So, Kam, Krodh, Lobh, Moha, Mada, Matsraya. If you are able to get through, at any point of time, you'll be आप गुनगुनाएंगे actually, गाना गाएंगे हमेशा. आप you are wearing your jeans, you are wearing your suit, you are wearing your shoes, you are cooking, and you are having your bath. आप गुनगुनाएंगे, because those 6 bad emotions are not there actually. That means we have overcome, and that is not an easy, because to err is human, and human beings, we came up with a lot of layers of our philosophy, a lot of a thinking problem is there, and this is being found. This 6 dangerous emotions being found. And what is if this is Avidyamaya? What is Vidyamaya? Vidyamaya, I think I already spoke about. I may not have used the word called Vidyamaya. They are actually Vivek. Vivek means discrimination. Now, discrimination of what? Discrimination of Nitya and Anitya. Now, you don't understand that life is not permanent actually, but we live our life as if life is permanent. Mera hai, and I want to hold it, I want to possess it, I want to store it, as if tomorrow there is nothing there, but I am going to be there, so everything should be there. But we don't have any trust on existence, and it is a quantum skill, that quantum being, quantum trusting. So let us exist, and let us also make others to exist quite well, because there is a lot of abundance, because from the abundance you take abundance, and the abundance remains. That is there in the Ishopanishad. No? From the abundance you take the abundance, and the abundance remains. Kitna bhi aap pani le lo, okay, from the ocean, from the Pacific Ocean. Pacific Ocean is not going to say, yaar itna pani kaise le gaya. Kitna bhi aap oxygen le lo, oxygen hai. It is always getting regenerated. That is ecology actually. That is planet. Planet is Prakriti. So that kind of a sense of knowledge, that kind of a knowledge is actually is the Vidyamaya. So we are trying to understand that Vivek, okay, Vivek, Nitya, Anutya, and that is one. Vivek, Vairagya, because without Vairagya we cannot actually, that is actually talking about Vidyamaya, because without Vairagya, without dispassion we cannot understand. Okay, and then Sat Sampati, I think spoke, they are Sama, Dama, Uparati, Titiksha, Shraddha, and Samadhan. Okay, control of mind, control of senses, then disciplining ourselves. Okay, then forbearance and respect for the literature and the knowledge of the scriptures and the gurus, and then concentration. That is Samadhan. Okay, and then Mumukshutva. That is Moktom Ichuhu. That I want to get liberated. I want to get liberated. That itself is also Maya. But that is a good Maya. Nothing wrong in that actually. Now these are the 2 aspects of Maya that we are trying to discuss actually. Now coming to understand about, I was talking about, is Maya all bad? Yes, Maya to a large extent is bad. It is bad because it is pulling you. With one side you are trying to pull up, another side something is trying to pull you down, and you don't enjoy. I mean, we can enjoy life by renouncing. Just imagine. Sometimes I find that earning money is quite easy, but donating money to somebody is the most difficult. If your own sister, your own brother, probably he may not be rich. When you donate something, I mean unconditionally, I mean I don't want to take anything. So much of happiness can be there actually. So tena takten, the renouncing, or sometimes there's a lot of fight between 2 brothers. Even we have the Ambani case. Na? We'll find fights on property, right? If your two brothers, father has lived out of property, who's getting more, and nobody wants to really live it, and somebody wants to get it. So there's a lot of fight. And the moment you renounce, you find so much of happiness is there actually, because there is always something flowing in my life. There is always something that is coming. And but make you chorunga. Okay, I am also part of the family. Why should I actually? And of course, then we get into a lot of entangles, and so many cases comes on news actually. We'll find that but nobody is going to be permanent. Neither the property is going to be permanent, neither the body is going to be permanent, neither the family is going to be permanent. So can we see 70 years from now, or already if I am 50, can I see 20 years from now? How many years I'm going to live further actually? The more we try to see the reality, our present life become much more better. So we make heaven out of hell, or we can make hell out of heaven. Hell and heaven is not something geographical space. It is not in a time and space. It is there, here itself. Idam, yahan pe hai actually. And our mental construct makes heaven and hell. We don't know whether heaven and hell exist, but we don't know that psychological peace and restlessness, anxiety, depression exists. Okay, so going through hell is going through anxiety. Going through hell is going through depression. Going through hell is going through frustration. And going through heaven, being heaven, is all about peace, serenity, sthiti prajna. That is heaven actually. And we know that nothing is permanent actually. Shanagam nityam, sarvam shanagam. So it is everywhere. It is going around and round actually. So Maya is bad because it is pulling us. It is a huge gravity. And the more we invite Maya in our life, the more we get into that gravity. And Maya can be good. Now, what kind of Maya? How is Maya good? Let us understand. How is Maya good? Like your love for Gopala is the Bal Krishna actually. आप देखेंगे काफी जगह पे, especially in a lot of Bengali families. When I go to Bengal, even in Pune also, a lot of Bengali families, even a lot of other people also I've seen. जब तक अपना गोपाला को खाना नहीं खिलाएंगे, तब तक हमने सबर उठ के उसको खुद नहा के उसको नहाएंगे, and then they will be touching the food or even a cup of tea. And that is really a love for the Gopala. Oh, we kind of a Maya hai, but nothing wrong in that, na? Ramakrishna Paramahamsa had so much of a love for Ma Kali. Okay, so people do have so much of love for any deity, for just called Kula Devata. उसको जब तक पानी नहीं देंगे, फूल नहीं चढ़ाएंगे, आपने खुद भी कुछ भी नहीं करेंगे. That is good. So love for the divine mother is also a kind of Maya. Love for getting mumukshu, mokto mikshu is also Maya. Love for your family is also Maya. That is good actually, because we want our family to grow actually. Love for your child, love for your society, love for your trees, love for your nature. Okay, there are so much of activists. There are so many sustainability experts. There are so many environmental experts, and they are not only experts in theory, but they are also experts in doing something. They love nature so much actually. They love more nature than their own body. So that is also Maya, but that is a good Maya. So Maya is all not bad. Okay, it can be good provided that is Avidyamaya. Because when you are working for society, the social activists, the NGOs, they are also having a Maya. So if you love your subject, if you love your love anything that you are doing, that is a good Maya. So like that. Now, enough of theory. I'll just tell you one of the story. Okay, that this is a very old story, and this also talks about Maya. And this story name is "Ye Sach Hai" or "O Sach Hai." Is this real or is that real? Now, this is a story about King Janak, the father of Sita, and he was a very learned. Not only learned, he had a lot of curiosity to know more and more about philosophy, about epistemology, about Vedantic knowledge, and he used to call his all the pundits and all the gurus at his place, and he used to spend a lot of time in understanding that particular knowledge, exactly what is there and what is actually happening. So, and generally he used to serve his people very well, and he used to take care of his people, and he used to call all the gurus, and generally in the evening he used to have good talks on people and used to learn. And after a hard day's work, he used to of course get tired. And one day it happened that he had a very hectic day. He was there in the forest, and he came, and after that he listened to some of the gurus, and he was stabbed, and he went to bed. And as he went to bed, he started actually dreaming. He dreamt that a king from the nearby village came and it invaded his village, and he was being overtaken, and he had to leave. Okay, and he had to leave. And as he left, he found that it was all terrible, and it was not all good actually, and he had to go through a lot of turmoil and a lot of problems actually, and everything became so bad, and he was suffering, and he was moving, and he found himself that he don't have any food to eat, and he was in a bad place. He was in a dilapidated condition, and he was very, very hungry, and he could feel the hunger pangs. And at a distance, he was dreaming. At a distance, he could found that there are a lot of people in a queue, and as the people are in a queue, they're all in a queue to get certain kind of food. And so as he was hungry, so he also stood, and he was there in the queue, and he was slowly moving. And as this time comes to get the food, he found that there is no food, but he was very hungry. He was begging for food. मुझे कुछ दे दीजिए जो भी available है. So the people who were serving the food, कुछ टुकड़े थे, and the last dregs of food they could somehow collect and give him, and in his plate. And as he got the food on his hand, and he was trying to eat, he found one crow came and actually took the food, and alas, and everything that was in the plate just fallen, and he was absolutely terrified, and he was hungry, and he was sick, and he was in a bad mental, physical state, and he was feeling so bad that he just woke up, and then he found that, I am in my palace, I have my people, and everything is there. So what happened to it? So then he was very, very intrigued. Now he was a different man, King Janak. Now he was not an ordinary man. He never lived that dream as a dream. अरे चलो ये सपना था. It was a bad dream. वो वहाँ पे नहीं छोड़ा. तो उन्होंने क्या किया? He started actually asking a lot of people, and a lot of people, and a lot of gurus. And सबने बोला रहे वो तो ड्रीम था, भूल जाओ. ये तो होता रहता है, सबका लाइफ में ऐसा खराब बुरा सपने आते रहते हैं, वो भूल जाओ. But नहीं, he was not living it. ये सच है ना वो सच है. Ultimately, he couldn't really concentrate on his work, and physicians came, shamans came, but nobody could really give an answer. And ultimately, this news about King Janak's problem, dilemma, went to a great sage. His name is Ashtavakra. You have heard about Ashtavakra. And then Ashtavakra was called. Ashtavakra, and then he told the entire story that I had a dream, and I felt that I have lost everything. But now, तो आप मुझे बताओ वो सच था ना ये सच है. And the Ashtavakra listened, and he found that yes, this is a deep problem actually. And he said that ना वो सच था ना ये सच है. तो फिर he asked that फिर क्या सच है? फिर आप सच हो, तत्वमासी. You are that actually. You are the reality. So do you think that what actually you have experienced in the dream, that you are hungry? Are you hungry now? No. Do you think that the king has overtaken you? Do you think that really king has overtaken you? No. And in the dream, do you think that you had a palace? No. In the dream, do you think that you had all the luxuries? No. So the reality was not in the dream, and the dream is not the reality. No such is such actually. You are the reality. So it is you who actually makes your own reality. So you are whatever you conceive. Okay, whatever you are conceived in your own way, you are actually making the reality. So the reality is you. So if you make your dream your reality, that is the reality. If you make your reality which is present in form of you, because now the dream has gone, but you are unable to concentrate, and that has become the reality now. The dream is not there, but the reality is in front of you. But now what has happened is that you are not taking care of your people because you are disturbed by the dream. So neither the dream is true, neither the reality is true, but you are being disturbed. That is true. And by understanding that reality, yes, I am true. So I need to get back to my work. I need to look after my people. I need to serve my country. I need to again listen to my gurus, and I need to come to my visit. And that is the reality. So Maya is very mysterious, and it plays a lot of games in our life. It makes lots of tricks in our life, and it goes on. And as it goes on, we are unable to understand that what exactly is the reality, because it is always a trick, and this trick is so strong trick that we are unable to really break through. So what is required is we need an intellect spiritual sword to cut through the clutter of ignorance or avidya and get into the vidya. And once we get into the vidya, we understand that yes, this is the reality. So it is Tattvamasi Aham Paramasmi. So you remember in the Brihadaranyaka Upanishad, there's a dialogue between Yagan which is again a great sage, and Maitri, and Yagan tells Maitri that you don't love me, or the wife doesn't love the husband for the sake of the husband, but the wife loves the husband because sake of the self. Similarly, the husband loves the wife not for the sake of the wife, but husband loves wife because of the sake of the self. We love our children not because of the children, we love ourselves. We love the children because of the sake of the self. So you always find that the self actually becomes the reality. And in the Sanatana Dharma, when you're talking about self, the self is not the selfish self, but the self is basically the Atman, and the equation is Atman is equal to the Brahman. That is how actually it is moving. So we are trying to understand that the self, basically, the inquiry is to the self. The inquiry is to the understanding about what is actually the self, what is the supreme reality, and the more we are trying to understand that yes, this is the reality which is we are unable to see, and through this reality, the thing that comes to us actually gets manifested. So the more we understand the invisible dimension of us, more the visible dimensions become better, and because of our mistaken thinking, because of our fallacies, because of our error in our thinking process, we tend to create a kind of disjunct. We are trying to create a kind of a wrongness in our process of processing the world, and in the process we become ineffective, we become unproductive in our work. So the more we are able to get rid of the Avidyamaya and understand the Vidyamaya, the more we are able to tune us to the realities of the existence that is manifesting in front of us, and that is how we can also attain a lot of peace of mind and the mumukshu, that mumukshutva, that is trying to get liberated from the entanglements of life. So that is in short Maya actually we understand. Okay, I stop here, but if you have any question, you can ask me.